Namaste. Okay, whatever. Okay. Surah 4, continuing from verse 126 and reading Rumi. I was trying to combine Rumi and reading together. Rooting. Okay. Justice to women and orphans is part of religion and the fear of God. Stand out firmly for justice to call. Justice for sorry. So I'm gonna start over. I want to change some things here. Maybe looks a little better. Oops, I spelled it very strong. Okay. Justice to women and orphans, justice to women and orphans is part of religion and the fear of God. Stand out firmly for justice to all, even against yourselves or your nearest of kin. Remain firm in faith and consort not with evil or hypocrisy. Be true in speech and wound not others. Nor distinguish between teachers of truth, for God's truth is one and should be believed. They seek thy instruction concerning the women. Say, God doth instruct you about them, and what hath been rehearsed unto you in the book concerning the orphans of women, to whom ye give not the portions prescribed, and yet whom ye desire to marry, as also concerning the children who are weak and oppressed. That ye stand firm for justice to orphans. There is not a good deed which ye do, but God is well acquainted therewith. If a wife fears cruelty or desertion on her husband's part, there is no blame on them if they arrange an amicable settlement between themselves, and such settlement is best. Even though men's souls are swayed by greed, but if ye do good and practice self-restraint, God is well acquainted with all that ye do. 1 second. You're never able to be fair and just as between women, even if it is your ardent desire, but turn not away altogether, so as to leave her hanging. If ye come to a friendly understanding and practice self-restraint, God is oft forgiving, most merciful. But if they disagree, God will provide abundance for all from his all-reaching bounty, for God is he that careth for all and is wise. To God belong all things in the heavens and on earth. Verily we have directed the people of the book before you, and you to fear God. But if ye deny him, lo, unto God belong all things in the heavens and on earth, and God is free of all wants, worthy of all praise. Ye, unto God belong all things in the heavens and on earth, and enough is God to carry through all affairs. If it were his will, he could destroy you, O mankind, and create another race, for he hath power this to do. If anyone desires a reward in this life, In God's is the reward of this life and of the hereafter, for God is he that heareth and seeth. O ye who believe, stand out firmly for justice, as witnesses to God, even as against yourselves, or your parents, or your kin, and whether it be rich or poor, for God can best protect both. Follow not the lusts, lest ye swerve, and if ye distort or decline to do justice, verily God is well acquainted with all that ye do. O ye who believe, believe in God and his apostle, and the scripture which he hath sent to his apostle, and the scripture which he sent to those before. And he who denieth God, his angels, his books, his apostles, and the day of judgment, hath gone far, far astray. Those who believe, then reject faith, then believe, and reject faith, and go on increasing in unbelief, God will not forgive them, nor guide them on the way. To the hypocrites give the glad tidings that there is for them a grievous penalty. Ye to those who take for friends unbelievers rather than believers, is it honor they seek among them? Nay, all honor is with God. Already he sent you word in the book, that when ye hear the signs of God held in defiance and ridicule, ye are not to sit with them, unless they turn to a different theme. If ye did, ye will be like them, for God will collect the hypocrites and those who defy faith, all in hell. The ones who wait and watch about you. If you do gain a victory from God, they say, were we not with you? But if the unbelievers gain a success, they say, did we not gain an advantage over you, and did we not guard you from the believers? But God will judge betwixt you on the day of judgment. And never will God grant to the unbelievers a way over the believers. The hypocrites, they think they are overreaching God, but he will overreach them. When they stand up to prayer, they stand without earnestness to be seen of men, but little do they hold God in remembrance. Distracted in mind, even in the midst of it, being for neither one group nor for another, whom God leaves straying, never wilt thou find for him the way. O ye who believe, take not for friends unbelievers rather than believers. Do ye wish to offer God an open proof against yourselves? The hypocrites will be in the lowest depths of the fire, no helper wilt thou find for them. Except for those who repent, mend, hold fast to God, and purify their religion as in God's sight. If so, they will be with the believers. And soon will God grant to the believers a reward of immense value. What can God gain by your punishment, if ye are grateful and ye believe? Nay, it is God that recognizeth and knoweth all things. God loveth not that evil should be noised abroad in public speech, except where injustice hath been done, for God is he who heareth and knoweth all things. Whether ye publish a good deed or conceal it, or cover evil with pardon, verily God doth blot out and hath power. Those who deny God and his apostles, and wish to separate God from his apostles, saying, we believe in some, but reject others, and wish to take a course midway. They are in truth unbelievers. And we have prepared for unbelievers a humiliating punishment. To those who believe in God and his apostles, and make no distinction between any of the apostles, we shall soon give their rewards, for God is oft forgiving, most merciful. I'll take a little break, 1 second. Testing. Okay. The people of the book went wrong, the Jews in breaking their covenant and slandering Mary and Jesus, and in their usury and injustice, and the Christians in raising Jesus the Apostle to equality with God. God's revelation is continued in the Quran, which comes with manifest proof and a clear light to those who understand. The people of the book asked thee to cause a book to descend to them from heaven. Indeed, they asked Moses for an even greater, for they said, "Show us God in public." But there were days for their presumption, with thunder and lightning. Yet they worshipped the calf, even after clear signs had come to them. Even so we forgave them, and gave Moses manifest proofs of authority. And for their covenant we raised over them of the mount. And we said, "Enter the gate with humility." And we commanded them, "Transgress not in the matter of the Sabbath." And we took from them a solemn covenant. In that they broke their covenant, that they rejected the signs of God, that they slew the messengers in defiance of right, that they said, "Our hearts are the wrappings." Nay, God hath set the seal on their hearts for their blasphemy, and little is it they believe, that they rejected faith, that they uttered against Mary a grave false charge, that they said, "We killed Christ Jesus, the Son of Mary, the Apostle of God." But they killed him not, nor crucified him. But so it was made to appear to them, and those who differ therein are full of doubts, with no knowledge, but only conjecture to follow, for of a surety they killed him not. Nay, God raised him up unto himself, and God is exalted in power, wise. And there is none of the people of the book, but must believe in him before his death, and on the day of judgment he will be a witness against them. With the iniquity of the Jews we made unlawful for them certain good and wholesome, which have been lawful for them, and that they hindered many from God's way. That they took usury, though they were forbidden, and that they devoured men's substance wrongfully. Ye have prepared for those among them who reject faith a grievous punishment. But those among them who are well grounded in knowledge, and the believers, believe in what hath been revealed to thee, and what was revealed before thee. And those who establish regular prayer, and practice regular charity, and believe in God, and in the last day, to them shall we soon give a great reward. We have sent the inspiration, as we sent it to Noah and the messengers after him. We sent inspiration to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes, to Jesus, Job, Jonah, Aaron, and Solomon, and to David we gave the Psalms. Of some apostles we have already told thee the story, of others we have not, and to Moses God spoke direct. Apostles who gave good news as well as warning, that mankind, after it of the apostles, should have no plea against God, for God is exalted in power, wise. But God beareth witness that what he hath sent unto thee, he hath sent from his knowledge. And the angels bear witness, but enough is God for a witness. Those who reject faith and keep off from the way of God have verily strayed far, far away from the path. Those who reject faith and do wrong, God will not forgive them nor guide them to any way, except the way of hell, to dwell therein forever, and this to God is easy. O mankind, the apostle hath come to you in truth from God. Believe in him. It is best for you. But if ye reject faith, to God belong all things in the heavens and on earth, and God is all-knowing, all-wise. O people of the book, commit no excesses in your religion, nor say of God aught but the truth. Christ Jesus, the Son of Mary, was an apostle of God, and his word, which he bestowed on Mary, and a spirit proceeding from him. So believe in God and his apostles. Say not Trinity, desist. It will be better for you, for God is one God. Glory be to him. Above having a son. To him belong all things in the heavens and on earth, and enough is God as a disposer of affairs. Christ disdaineth not to serve and worship God, nor do the angels, those nearest. Those who disdain his worship and are arrogant, he will gather them all together unto himself, to it. But to those who believe and do deeds of righteousness, he will give their rewards, and more out of his bounty. But those who are disdainful and arrogant, he will punish with a grievous penalty, nor will they find besides God any to protect or help them. O mankind, verily there hath come to you a convincing proof from your Lord, for we have sent unto you a light manifest. Then those who believe in God and hold fast to him, soon will he admit them to mercy and grace from himself, and guide them to himself by a straight way. They ask thee for a legal decision. Say, God directs about those who leave no descendants or ascendants as heirs. If it is a man that dies, leaving a sister but no child, she shall have half the inheritance. If a woman who left no child, her brother takes her inheritance. If there are two sisters, they shall have 2/3 of the inheritance. If there are brothers and sisters, the male having twice the share of the female. Thus doth God make clear to you, lest ye err, and God hath knowledge of all things. Okay, that's it. Next up is the New Testament. Thank you. Okay. The New Testament next. I think it's Romans chapter 8. I think 20 minutes per book is good. Somewhere around there. Yep, okay. think the Bible community needs money. Everybody needs money. But I think I could feel them. Okay. Or I see too many ads. Too many ads means they need money. Or maybe it's a marketing strategy. But, it's not like Bible business. It's not like a normal business. So, yeah. Okay, Romans chapter 8. Therefore, there is no longer any condemnation awaiting those who are in union with the Messiah, Yah-Usha. Now, can I do immersive? I just saved myself. Oh my god, this makes it so much easier for me. I am gonna further transform this into something better. Give me 1 second here. So I don't need... Sorry, I need to do this. No. This. No numbers. Yes. Oh. Wow. Why is there numbers? I just did away with the numbers. Maybe the immersive version doesn't have an option. Alright, so I'll add it then. Okay. There you go. Therefore, there is no longer any condemnation awaiting those who are in union with the Messiah, Yah-Usha. Why? Because the Torah of the Spirit, which produces this life in union with the Messiah, Yah-Usha, has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what the Torah could not do by itself because it lacked the power to make the old nature cooperate, God did by sending His own Son as a human being with a nature like our own sinful one. God did this in order to deal with sin, and in so doing He executed the punishment against sin in human nature, so that the just requirement of the Torah might be fulfilled in us who do not run our lives according to what our old nature wants, but according to what the Spirit wants. For those who identify with their old nature set their minds on the things of the old nature, but those who identify with the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. Having one's mind controlled by the old nature is death, but having one's mind controlled by the Spirit is life and shalom. For the mind controlled by the old nature is hostile to God, because it does not submit itself to God's Torah. Indeed, it cannot. Thus, those who identify with their old nature cannot please God. But you do not identify with your old nature, but with the Spirit, provided the Spirit of God is living inside you. For anyone who doesn't have the Spirit of the Messiah doesn't belong to Him. However, if the Messiah is in you, then, on the one hand, the body is dead because of sin, but on the other hand, the Spirit is giving life because God considers you righteous. And if the Spirit of the one who raised Yah-Usha from the dead is living in you, then the one who raised the Messiah, Yah-Usha, from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through His Spirit living in you. So then, brothers, we don't owe a thing to our old nature that would require us to live according to our old nature. For if you live according to your old nature, you will certainly die. But if by the Spirit you keep putting to death the practices of the body, you will live. All who are led by God's Spirit are God's sons. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to bring you back again into fear. On the contrary, you received the Spirit who makes us sons, and by whose power we cry out, Abba, that is, dear Father. The Spirit Himself bears witness with our own spirits that we are children of God. And if we are children, then we are also heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with the Messiah, provided we are suffering with Him, in order also to be glorified with Him. I don't think the sufferings we're going through now are even worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed to us in the future. The creation waits eagerly for the sons of God to be revealed, for the creation was made subject to frustration, not willingly, but because of the one who subjected it, but it was given a reliable hope that it too would be set free from its bondage to decay and would enjoy the freedom accompanying the glory that God's children will have. We know that until now the whole creation has been groaning as with the pains of childbirth, and not only it, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly as we continue waiting eagerly to be made sons, that is, to have our whole bodies redeemed and set free. It was in this hope that we were saved. But if we see what we hope for, it is in hope. After all, who hopes for what he already sees? But if we continue hoping for something we don't see, then we still wait eagerly for it with perseverance. Similarly, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we don't know how to pray the way we should. But the Spirit Himself pleads on our behalf with groanings too deep for words. And the one who searches hearts knows exactly what the Spirit is thinking, because His pleadings for God's people accord with God's will. Furthermore, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called in accordance with His purpose, because those whom He knew in advance, He also determined in advance, would be conformed to the pattern of His Son, so that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom He thus determined in advance, He also called. And those whom He called, He also caused to be considered righteous. And those whom He caused to be considered righteous, He also glorified. What then are we to say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare even His own Son, but gave Him up on behalf of us all. Is it possible that, having given us His Son, He would not give us everything else too? So who will bring a charge against God's chosen people? Certainly not God. He is the one who causes them to be considered righteous. Who punishes them? Certainly not the Messiah, Yah-Usha, who died, and more than that, has been raised, is at the right hand of God and is actually pleading on our behalf. Who will separate us from the love of the Messiah? Trouble, hardship, persecution, hunger, poverty, danger, war? As the Tanakh puts it, for your sake we are being put to death all day long. We are considered sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are super-conquerors, through the one who has loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor other heavenly rulers, neither what exists nor what is coming, neither powers above nor powers below, nor any other created thing will be able to separate us from the love of God which comes to us through the Messiah, Yah-Usha, our Lord. Okay. I'll take a little break and then continue reading. Okay. Here we go. Chapter 9. I am speaking the truth as one who belongs to the Messiah. I do not lie. And also bearing witness is my conscience, governed by the Ruach HaKodesh. My grief is so great, the pain in my heart so constant, that I could wish myself actually under God's curse and separated from the Messiah, if it would help my brothers, my own flesh and blood, the people of Israel. They were made God's children. The Shekinah has been with them. The covenants are theirs. Likewise the giving of the Torah, the temple service, and the promises. The patriarchs are theirs, and from them, as far as his physical descent is concerned, came the Messiah, who is over all. Praise be Yahweh forever. Amen. But the present condition of Israel does not mean that the word of God has failed. For not everyone from Israel is truly part of Israel. Indeed, not all the descendants are seed of Abraham. Rather, what is to be called your seed will be Yitzchak. In other words, it is not the physical children who are children of God, but the children the promise refers to who are considered seed. For this is what the promise said. At the time set, I will come, and Sarah will have a son. And even more to the point is the case of Rivkah, for both her children were conceived in a single act with Yitzchak, our father. And before they were born, before they had done anything at all, either good or bad, so that God's plan might remain a matter of his sovereign choice, not dependent on what they did, but on God, who does the calling. It was said to her, the older will serve the younger. This accords with where it is written, Yaakov I loved, but Esau I hated. So are we to say, it is unjust for God to do this? Heaven forbid. For to Moshe he says, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will pity whom I pity. Thus it doesn't depend on human desires or efforts, but on God who has mercy. For the Tanakh says to Pharaoh, it is for this very reason that I raised you up, so that in connection with you I might demonstrate my power, so that my name might be known throughout the world. So then he has mercy on whom he wants, and he hardens whom he wants. But you will say to me, then why does he still find fault with us? After all, who resists his will? Who are you, a mere human being, to talk back to God? Will what is formed say to him who formed it, why did you make me this way? Or has the potter no right to make from a given lump of clay this pot for honorable use, and that one for dishonorable? Now, what if God, even though he was quite willing to demonstrate his anger and make known his power, patiently put up with people who deserved punishment and were ripe for destruction? What if he did this in order to make known the riches of his glory to those who are the objects of his mercy, whom he prepared in advance for glory, that is, to us, whom he called not only the Jews, but also from among the Gentiles? As indeed he says in Hosea, those who were not my people, I will call my people. Her who was not loved, I will call loved. And in the very place where they were told, you are not my people, there they will be called the sons of the living God. But Yeshayahu, referring to Israel, cries out, even if the number of people in Israel is as large as the number of grains of sand by the sea, only a remnant will be saved. For Yahweh will fulfill his word on the earth with certainty and without delay. Also, as Yeshayahu said earlier, if Yahweh the Tzevaot had not left us a seed, we would have become like Sodom. We have resembled Gomorrah. So, what are we to say? This, that Gentiles, even though they were not striving for righteousness, have obtained righteousness. But it is a righteousness grounded in trusting. However, Israel, even though they kept pursuing a Torah that offers righteousness, did not reach what the Torah offers. Why? Because they did not pursue righteousness as being grounded in trusting, but as if it were grounded in doing legalistic works. They stumbled over the stone that makes people stumble. As the Tanakh puts it, look, I am laying in Zion a stone that will make people stumble, a rock that will trip them up, but he who rests his trust on it will not be humiliated. this one doesn't have an option. Oh, it does. Okay. Nope, it doesn't. Alright, so I'm gonna have to read it this way. Can I refresh it? Nope, no option. Okay. Chapter 10. Brothers, my heart's deepest desire and my prayer to God for Israel is for their salvation. For I can testify to their zeal for God. But it is not based on correct understanding. For, since they were unaware of God's way of making people righteous, and instead seek to set up their own, they have not submitted themselves to God's way of making people righteous. For the goal at which the Torah aims is the Messiah, who offers righteousness to everyone who trusts. For Moshe writes about the righteousness grounded in the Torah, that the person who does these things will attain life through them. Moreover, the righteousness grounded in trusting says, do not say in your heart who will ascend to heaven, that is, to bring the Messiah down, or who will descend into Sheol, that is, to bring the Messiah up from the dead. What then does it say? The word is near you, in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word about trust, which we proclaim, namely, that if you acknowledge publicly with your mouth that Yah-Usha is Lord, and trust in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be delivered. For with the heart one goes on trusting and thus continues toward righteousness, while with the mouth one keeps on making public acknowledgement and thus continues toward deliverance. For the passage quoted says that everyone who rests his trust on him will not be humiliated. That means that there's no difference between Jew and Gentile. Yahweh is the same for everyone, rich toward everyone who calls on him, since everyone who calls on the name of Yahweh will be delivered. But how can they call on someone if they haven't trusted in him? And how can they trust in someone if they haven't heard about him? And how can they hear about someone if no one is proclaiming him? And how can people proclaim him unless God sends them? As the Tanakh puts it, how beautiful are the feet of those announcing good news about good things. The problem is that they haven't all paid attention to the good news and obeyed it. For Yeshayahu says, Yahweh, who has trusted what he has heard from us. So trust comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes through a word proclaimed about the Messiah. But I say, isn't it rather that they didn't hear? No, they did hear. Their voice has gone out throughout the whole world, and their words to the ends of the earth. But I say, isn't it rather that Israel didn't understand? I will provoke you to jealousy over a non-nation. Over a nation void of understanding, I will make you angry. Moreover, Yeshayahu boldly says, I was found by those who were not looking for me. I became known to those who did not ask for me. But to Israel he says, all day long I held out my hands to a people who kept disobeying and contradicting. Interesting. Sorry. Should I do? Maybe I'll do one more chapter. It's okay. Is there a... Nope. So this one doesn't have the immersive reader version. Chapter 11. In that case I say, isn't it that God has repudiated his people? Heaven forbid. For I myself am a son of Israel, from the seed of... Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. In that case, I say, isn't it that God has repudiated his people? Heaven forbid. For I myself am a son of Israel, from the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not repudiated his people, whom he chose in advance. Or don't you know what the Tanakh says about Eliyahu? He pleads with God against Israel. Yahweh, they have killed your prophets and torn down your altars, and I'm the only one left, and now they want to kill me too. But what is God's answer to him? I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not knelt down to Baal. It's the same way in the present age. There's a remnant chosen by grace. Now, if it is by grace, it is accordingly not based on legalistic works. If it were otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. What follows is that Israel has not attained the goal for which she is striving. The ones chosen have obtained it, but the rest have been made stone-like, just as the Tanakh says. God has given them a spirit of dullness, eyes that do not see, and ears that do not hear, right down to the present day. And David says, let their dining table become for them a snare and a trap, a pitfall and a punishment. Let their eyes be darkened so that they can't see, with their backs bent continually. In that case, I say, isn't it that they have stumbled with the result that they have permanently fallen away? Heaven forbid. Quite the contrary. It is by means of their stumbling that the deliverance has come to the Gentiles, in order to provoke them to jealousy. Moreover, if their stumbling is bringing riches to the world, that is, if Israel's being placed temporarily in a condition less favored than that of the Gentiles is bringing riches to the latter, how much greater riches will Israel in its fullness bring them? Sorry, my injury is also preventing me to dealing with a lot of things. However, to those of you who are Gentiles, I say this: since I myself am an emissary sent to the Gentiles, I make known the importance of my work in the hope that somehow I may provoke some of my own people to jealousy and save some of them. For if their casting Yah-Usha aside means reconciliation for the world, what will their accepting him mean? It will be life from the dead. Now if the challah offered as first fruits is holy, so is the whole loaf. And if the wood is holy, so are the branches. But if some of the branches were broken off, and you, a wild olive, were grafted in among them and have become equal sharers in the rich root of the olive tree, then don't boast as if you were better than the branches. However, if you do boast, remember that you are not supporting the root is supporting you. So you will say, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. True, but so what? They were broken off because of their lack of trust. However, you keep your place only because of your trust. So don't be arrogant. On the contrary, be terrified. For if God did not spare the natural branches, he certainly won't spare you. So take a good look at God's kindness and his severity. On the one hand, severity toward those who fell off, but on the other hand, God's kindness toward you, provided you maintain yourself in that kindness. Otherwise, you too will be cut off. Moreover, the others, if they do not persist in their lack of trust, will be grafted in, because God is able to graft them back in. For if you were cut out of what is by nature a wild olive tree and grafted, contrary to nature, into a cultivated olive tree, how much more will these natural branches be grafted back into their own olive tree? For brothers, I want you to understand this truth which God formerly concealed, but has now revealed, so that you won't imagine you know more than you actually do. It is that stony It is that stoniness to a degree that has come upon Israel until the Gentile world enters in its fullness, and that it is in this way that all Israel will be saved, as the Tanakh says. Out of Zion will come the Redeemer. He will turn away ungodliness from Yaakov, and this will be my covenant with them when I take away their sins. With respect to the good news, they are hated for your sake, but with respect to being chosen, they are loved for the patriarch's sake, for God's free gifts and his calling are irrevocable. Irrevocable, sorry. Just as you yourselves were disobedient to God before, but have received mercy now because of Israel's disobedience, so also Israel has been disobedient now, so that by your showing them the same mercy that God has shown you, they too may now receive God's mercy. For God has shut up all mankind together in disobedience, in order that he might show mercy to all. O the depth of the riches and the wisdom and knowledge of God! How inscrutable are his judgments! How unsearchable are his ways! For who has known the mind of the Lord? Who has been his counselor? Or who has given him anything and made him pay it back? For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. Okay. I'm gonna take a little break and then finish with the Old Testament. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish up with the Old Testament, Exodus chapter 14. I haven't decided what I want to do after this, either chanting or recitation, Sanskrit recitations. Yeah, I'm not gonna decide until I'm sure what I want to do. Like I mentioned before, I now my mode of operation is I do things as needed. If I need to do it, I'll do it, and if I want to do it, I'll do it. I'm not gonna force myself to do anything. That's these are all healing sessions, not forced meat session, whatever that means. And the one thing that I need to do daily is the Kabbalah prayer or the ritual. That's something that I need to do, or else I die. All right, 30 seconds. Okay. Chapter 14. Yahweh said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel to turn around and set up camp in front of Pi Hakirot, between Migdol and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon. Camp opposite it by the sea. Then Pharaoh will say that the people of Israel are wandering aimlessly in the countryside. The desert has closed in on them. I will make Pharaoh so hard-hearted that he will pursue them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will realize at last that I am Yahweh." The people did as ordered. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people. They said, "What have we done, letting Israel stop being our slaves?" So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 first-quality chariots, as well as all the other chariots in Egypt, along with their commanders. Yahweh made Pharaoh hard-hearted, and he pursued the people of Israel as they left boldly. The Egyptians went after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, with his cavalry and army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea, by Pi-Hakirot, in front of Baal Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and saw the Egyptians right there, coming after them. In great fear, the people of Israel cried out to Yahweh and said to Moshe, "Was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to die in the desert? Why have you done this to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Did we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? We'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians. It will be better for us to be the Egyptian slaves than to die in the desert." Moshe answered the people, Stop being so fearful. Remain steady. And you will see how Yahweh is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you will have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. Yahweh will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down. Yahweh asked Moshe, Why are you crying out? Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift your staff, reach out with your hand over the sea and divide it in two. The people of Israel will advance into the sea on dry ground. As for me, I will make the Egyptians hard-hearted, and they will march in after them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, chariots, and cavalry. Then the Egyptians will realize that I am Yahweh, when I have won myself glory at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry. Next, the angel of God, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, moved away and went behind them. And the column of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. It stationed itself between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. There was cloud and darkness here, but light by night there, so that the one did not come near the other all night long. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back before a strong east wind all night. He made the sea become dry land, and its water was divided in two. Then the people of Israel went into the sea on the dry ground, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians continued their pursuit, going after them into the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and cavalry. Just before dawn, Yahweh looked out on the Egyptian army through the column of fire and cloud and threw them into a panic. He caused the wheels of their chariots to break off, so that they could move only with difficulty. The Egyptians said, Yahweh is fighting for Israel against the Egyptians. Let's get away from them. Yahweh said to Moshe, Reach your hand out over the sea, and the water will return and cover the Egyptians with their chariots and cavalry. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and by dawn the sea had returned to its former depth. The Egyptians tried to flee, but Yahweh swept them into the sea. The water came back and covered all the chariots and cavalry of Pharaoh's army who had followed them into the sea. Not even one of them was left. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. On that day, Yahweh saved Israel from the Egyptians. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Yahweh had performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moshe. I wish I were healthy. Okay. Let me take a little break. Thank you. Okay. So this also doesn't have the immersive version. Chapter 15. Then Moshe and the people of Israel sang this song to Yahweh. I will sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Yah is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My father's God, I will exalt him. Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he hurled into the sea. His elite commanders were drowned in the sea of Suf. The deep waters covered them. They sank to the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Yahweh, is sublimely powerful. Your right hand, Yahweh, shatters the foe. By your great majesty, you bring down your enemies. You send out your wrath to consume them like stubble. With a blast from your nostrils, the waters piled up. The waters stood up like a wall. The depths of the sea became firm ground. The enemy said, I will pursue and overtake, divide the spoil and gorge myself on them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, Yahweh, among the mighty? Who is like you, sublime in holiness, awesome in praises, working wonders? You reached down with your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your love you led the people you redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your holy abode. The peoples have heard, and they tremble. Anguish takes hold of those living in Pleshet. Then the chiefs of Edom are dismayed. Trepidation seizes the heads of Moab. All those living in Canaan are melted away. Terror and dread fall on them. By the might of your arm they are still as stone, until your people pass over, Yahweh, till the people you purchased pass over. You bring them in and plant them on the mountain which is your heritage, the place, Yahweh, that you made your abode, the sanctuary, Yahweh, which your hands established. Yahweh will reign forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh won with his chariots, and with his cavalry into the sea. But Yahweh brought the sea waters back upon them, while the people of Israel walked on dry land in the midst of the sea. Also Miriam the prophet, sister of Aharon, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines dancing, as Miriam sang to them. Sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Moshe led Israel onward from the Sea of Suf. They went out into the Shur desert, but after traveling 3 days in the desert, they found no water. They arrived at Marah, but couldn't drink the water there because it was bitter. This is why they called it Marah, bitterness. The people grumbled against Moshe and asked, What are we to drink? Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a certain piece of wood, which, when he threw it into the water, made the water taste good. There Yahweh made laws and rules of life for them, and there he tested them. He said, If you will listen intently to the voice of Yahweh your God, do what he considers right, pay attention to his mitzvot, and observe his laws, I will not afflict you with any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, because I am Yahweh your healer. They came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and camped there by the water. Chapter 16. They traveled on from Elim, and the whole community of the people of Israel arrived at the Sin desert, between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after leaving the land of Egypt. There in the desert the whole community of the people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. The people of Israel said to them, We wish Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. There we used to sit around the pots with the meat boiling, and we had as much food as we wanted. But you have taken us out into this desert to let this whole assembly starve to death. Yahweh said to Moshe, "Here, I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. By this I will test whether they will observe my Torah or not. On the sixth day, when they prepare what they have brought in, it will turn out to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." Moshe and Aharon said to all the people of Israel, "This evening you will realize that it has been Yahweh who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning you will see Yahweh's glory, for he has listened to your grumblings against Yahweh. Well, what are we that you should grumble against us?" Moshe added, "What I have said will happen when Yahweh gives you meat to eat this evening and your fill of bread tomorrow morning. Yahweh has listened to your complaints and grumblings against him. What are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahweh." Moshe said to Aaron, "Say to the whole community of Israel, 'Come close into the presence of Yahweh, for he has heard your grumblings.'" As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the people of Israel, they looked toward the desert, and there before them the glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, 'At dusk you will be eating meat, and in the morning you will have your fill of bread. Then you will realize that I am Yahweh your God.'" That evening quails came up and covered the camp, while in the morning there was a layer of dew all around the camp. And when the dew had evaporated, there on the surface of the desert was a fine, flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they asked each other, "Manhu, what is it?" because they didn't know what it was. Moshe answered them, "It is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. Here is what Yahweh has ordered. Each man is to gather according to his appetite. Each is to take an āmēn, 2 quarts, per person for everyone in his tent." The people of Israel did this. Some gathered more, some less. But when they put it in an omer measure, whoever had gathered much had no excess, and whoever had gathered little had no shortage. Nevertheless, each person had gathered according to his appetite. Moshe told them, "No one is to leave any of it till morning." But they didn't pay attention to Moshe, and some kept the leftovers until morning. It bred worms and rotted, which made Moshe angry at them. So they gathered it morning after morning, each person according to his appetite. But as the sun grew hot, it melted. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers per person. And all the community leaders came and reported to Moshe. He told them, "This is what Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat for Yahweh. Bake what you want to bake, boil what you want to boil, and whatever is left over, set aside and keep for the morning." They set it aside till morning, as Moshe had ordered, and it didn't rot or have worms. Moshe said, "Today eat that, because today is a Shabbat for Yahweh. Today you won't find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but the 7th day is the Shabbat. On that day there won't be any. There won't be any." However, on the 7th day, some of the people went out together and found none. Yahweh said to Moshe, "How long will you refuse to observe my mitzvot and teachings? Look, Yahweh has given you the Shabbat. This is why he is providing bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Each of you, stay where you are. No one is to leave his place on the 7th day." So the people rested on the 7th day. The people called the food man. It was like coriander seed white, and it tasted like honey cakes. Moshe said, "Here is what Yahweh has ordered. Let 2 quarts of man be kept through all your generations, so that they will be able to see the bread which I fed you in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. Moshe said to Aaron, take a jar, put in it 2 quarts of man, and set it aside before Yahweh to be kept through all your generations. Just as Yahweh ordered Moshe, Aaron set it aside before the testimony to be kept. The people of Israel ate man for 40 years, until they came to an inhabited land. They ate man until they arrived at the borders of the land of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah, which is a bushel dry measure. Okay, I think maybe one more chapter. Alright, yeah, it's short. Last chapter. Yes, this helps me so much. Immersive reader. Chapter 17. The whole community of the people of Israel left the Sin desert, traveling in stages, as Yahweh had ordered, and camped at Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moshe, demanding, give us water to drink. But Moshe replied, why pick a fight with me? Why are you testing Yahweh? However, the people were thirsty for water there and grumbled against Moshe. For what did you bring us up from Egypt? To kill us, our children and our livestock with thirst? Moshe cried out to Yahweh, what am I to do with these people? They are ready to stone me. Yahweh answered Moshe, go on ahead of the people and bring with you the leaders of Israel. Take your staff in your hand, the one you used to strike the river, and go. I will stand in front of you there on the rock in Horeb. You are to strike the rock, and the water will come out of it, so the people can drink. Moshe did this in the sight of the leaders of Israel. The place was named Massah, testing, and Meribah, quarreling, because of the quarreling of the people of Israel, and because they tested Yahweh by asking, is Yahweh with us or not? Then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moshe said to Yah-Usha, choose men for us, go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with God's staff in my hand. Yah-Usha did as Moshe had told him and fought with Amalek. Then Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. When Moshe raised his hand, Israel prevailed, but when he let it down, Amalek prevailed. However, Moshe's hands grew heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other, so that his hands stayed steady until sunset. Thus Yah-Usha defeated Amalek, putting their people to the sword. Yahweh said to Moshe, write this in a book to be remembered, and tell it to Yah-Usha. I will completely blot out any memory of Amalek from under heaven. Moshe built an altar, called it Yahweh Nissi. Yahweh is my banner, miracle, and said, because their hand was against the throne of Yah, Yahweh will fight Amalek generation after generation. If the next chapter is short enough, I'm gonna finish it. 27. I'll just do it. Now, chapter 18. Now, Yitro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard about all that God had done for Moshe and for Israel, his people, how Yahweh had brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moshe had sent away his wife Zipporah and her 2 sons, Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, had taken them back. The name of the one son was Gershom, for Moshe had said, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land. The name of the other was Eliezer, my God helps, because the God of my father helped me by rescuing me from Pharaoh's sword. Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, brought Moshe's sons and wife to him in the desert, where he was encamped, at the mountain of God. He sent word to Moshe, I, your father-in-law Yitro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, prostrated himself and kissed him. Then, after inquiring of each other's welfare, they entered the tent. Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardships they had suffered while traveling, and how Yahweh had rescued them. Yitro rejoiced over all the good that Yahweh had done for Israel by rescuing them from the Egyptians. Yitro said, Blessed be Yahweh, who has rescued you from the Egyptians and from Pharaoh, who has rescued the people from the harsh hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all other gods, because he rescued those who were treated so arrogantly. Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and sacrifices to God, and Aaron came with all the leaders of Israel to share the meal before God with Moshe's father-in-law. The following day, Moshe set to settle disputes for the people, while the people stood around Moshe from morning till evening. When Moshe's father-in-law saw all that he was doing to the people, he said, What is this that you are doing to the people? Why do you sit there alone, with all the people standing around you from morning till evening? Moshe answered his father-in-law, It's because the people come to me seeking God's guidance. Whenever they have a dispute, it comes to me. I judge between one person and another, and I explain to them God's laws and teachings. 1 second. Moshe's father-in-law said to him, What you are doing isn't good. You will certainly wear yourself out, and not only yourself, but these people here with you as well. It's too much for you. You can't do it alone by yourself. So listen now to what I have to say. I will give you some advice, and God will be with you. You should represent the people before God, and you should bring their cases to God. You should also teach them the laws and the teachings, and show them how to live their lives and what work they should do. But you should choose from among all the people competent men who are God-fearing, honest, and incorruptible to be their leaders, in charge of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Normally, they will settle the people's disputes. They should bring you the difficult cases, but ordinary matters they should decide themselves. In this way, they will make it easier for you and share the load with you. If you do this, and God is directing you to do it, you will be able to endure, and all these people too will arrive at their destination peacefully. Moshe paid attention to his father-in-law's counsel and did everything he said. Moshe chose competent men from all Israel and made them heads over the people in charge of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. As a general rule, they settled the people's disputes. The difficult cases they brought to Moshe, but every simple matter they decided themselves. Then Moshe let his father-in-law leave, and he went off to his own country. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, that was fulfilling. And what does it feel like to do, stuff like this? It's like same satisfaction that humans get from playing Fortnite, I imagine. Okay. I'm done. Thank you. I'm gonna chant for an hour and 30 minutes because I don't just, let me check the weather. I'll find out if I'm chanting in public today or not. If it's raining out, I'm not going. Just cloudy the whole day. Man, such an iffy weather. That's the term I always use. Today's weather is iffy. Yeah, it's iffy. 6% precipitation by 8 p.m. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna chant next. I'll take an hour break because I was using my mouth for an hour and 15 minutes or more. Thank you. Namaste. Chanting next for an hour and a half, and we'll chant in public today. It looks crappy, man. It says it's not raining. It's like you can't trust the weather sometimes. I mean, the Weather Channel tells you. I'm using MSN weather. It says it's not raining. I'll use a double source, another source, weather.com. It's like, wow, I'm a hacker now. Just went to weather.com. I'm pretty sure they're tracking me. āmēn. Okay. What am I doing here? I need to find today's hourly, yes. Only gives you until 2 p.m. Are you kidding me? Just a few hours. And what do you have to do? Subscribe to get the 48 hours? No, okay. Yeah, it just says cloudy. So precipitation doesn't start until 7 p.m. anyway. Yeah, okay. It's settled. I will do chanting next, and then do Sanskrit recitations, and then I'll chant at the Hare Krishna tree for an hour. And that should really help me heal today. Thank you. Namaste. I'm almost there. I hit a wall. I don't know how to get around it or through it or anything right now. Okay. Thank you. Namaste.